Open up your heart. Let your Lord come in. Somebody's knocking and it must be Jesus. Why don't you let him come in? Somebody's knocking and it must be Jesus. Why don't you let him come in? Oh, that's a great song there by, who was that? Is that, what's his name? Him. Come on in, everybody. With Sunday school lesson is starting. Let me check this volume here, right quick. Yeah. Oh, that's a great song there. Yeah. Good volume. Good volume. We want to talk about Joshua here, the prophet of Conquest, and this is another great Sunday school lesson. I'm excited about it and what the lesson is getting ready to bring to all of us in our homes today. All right. I'm Elder Walter Jones. Hello, everybody. Elder Walter Jones of the Faith Temple Church of God in Christ, 1932 Dewey Avenue. Also, the name of the street is Bishop Carlos L. Moody Sr. Avenue in Evanston, Illinois. It's a great town. You got to come visit us one time. One time. Evanston is in the history books, actually, for the first city in America and in history to open up the portals of passing out checks to black folks. Y'all want reparations? Move to Evanston. They'll show y'all how to do it. All right, that's another show. You got to go to, what's the show that comes on ABC? They've been showing the series on every Sunday for the past couple of weeks now. I can't remember. It'll come to me in a minute. Good to see Rosalind Dobson and Michelle Carter and the Carters are here. And who else is here? Kamari, good to see your daughter. Collins and Brown and Jenkins and a bunch of y'all are here. This is a great story here. Marlene, Joshua, prophet of Conquest, is out of Joshua chapter 5 and chapter 6. If you would turn your Bibles. Soul of a Nation. Thank you, Lisa Akins. The Soul of a Nation. Y'all need to watch that series. Evanston is on the first series or the second series. I can't remember. Episode that is, and it's a greatie. All right. And yeah. Joshua chapter 5. All right, it's coming out of our book here, new Sunday school book for March the 14th, 2021. Man, I don't know what to do with this lesson. Lisa Smith, I don't know what to do with this. This lesson is too big for us. It's too big for Sir Walter Jones because there's so many avenues to tackle here. Because if you know nothing about the military and how the generals have to strategize in order to save the lives of those who serve in the forces, you wouldn't understand what God was trying to accomplish here. Good to see you, Lisa. You wouldn't understand what God was trying to accomplish and how the wisdom of God, knowing what things were before, he knew things that were ahead of time, right? He could see things ahead of you. And not just in that moment, but in times past. So he knew what he was doing, but he was showing these people something very important as he was showing the enemy something very important as well. All right. Because God has always sent out his message. He always sends out his word before he does a destruction, before he correct, before he rebuke, before he chastise. He always sends out a warning shot, all right? And if you don't adhere to the warning shot, sometimes he sends another one because God is gracious. He's a very patient God. He's the God of a second and third and a fourth and the fifth chance. But after a while, how much more will grace abound? All right? We keep playing Russian roulette with God. And these people of Jericho kept playing Russian roulette with God. The first episode, watch the first series from the series in the first episode, Soul of a Nation. You'll see Evanston on that episode. Yes, come on, Joanne. Warning before destruction. All right. So what's happening here? You have to go to Joshua chapter 5 and go to verse 13. I'll read it in the NLT so that you can see. When Joshua was near the town of Jericho. Now you have to understand the history of the lesson. Israel's is reestablishing a covenant ceremonies. All right, these cats got to get cut. Why? Because God made a promise, and he had wiped out all of that first generation. He wiped them out. And so this new generation didn't understand the ceremonies and the covenant, so they had to get cut. So all that happened prior to what we're getting ready to go into right now. So after they got cut, verse 13 says, when Joshua was near the town of Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with sword in his hand. All right, so Joshua went up to him and demanded, bro, are you a friend or foe? Or you for us or you against us? Because I can't have you standing there threatening me with that sword. And then neither one, he answered, I am the commander of the Lord's army. Let me tell y'all, that answer right there is very important. I'm the commander of God's army. I'm getting ready to do for you what we did for your father in the gospel, Moses, and what we're going to continue to do in this military intelligence. Okay, we're going to continue to do this. So this is the general of the army, the commander, of the army. All right. It says, at this, Joshua fell with his face to the ground in reverence. I am at your command. Joshua said, what do you want your servant to do? And the commander of the Lord's army replied, take off your sandals. Take your shoes off. For the place where you are standing is holy. And Joshua did as he was told. Hey, y'all, where else did we see that taking place? Where else did we see where God told a man to take off his shoe? Before you come to my house, you take off your shoe because I don't want you dirtying up my carpet. Things in my house are holy, and I don't want the outside element in the dirt. But the most important part about this is I don't want us to be separated. I don't want what is separating me from you to enter into this house. Moses in the burning bush. Come on, Michelle Carter. Come on, Lisa. Yes, come on, Joanne. All right. I need you to take off your shoe. Why? You were born. No, you were created without shoes. Man, I can't touch this. This is too big for me. It's too big for me. You were created without shoes. I made you and formed you from the dust of the ground. And that's why in certain territories, they do what's called grounding. Still today, because we were from the ground, we were from the dust and the minerals, the shoes and the sandals cut the minerals off from us. And I believe, this is Sir Walter Jones speaking, I believe this is why we have been disconnected from what God made in as far as nutrients is concerned. All right. The proper vitamins and the proper, these things that God, what's they call it, precious metals and resources, and the periodic table. Okay. All these things, I believe when we start putting a whole bunch of clothes and shoes and sandals on, we cut off what like a baby is being cut off from the breast of the mother, and the milk, the source. All right. The umbilical cord is cut from the mother and separates, right? And so I believe that the part of the grounding, I've studied it and I thought, wow, that's a great concept. And that's why you see so many people from foreign lands are healthy today. They walk around with no shoes on and up on the ground and the threshing floor of the forest floor and don't get cut, and they step on hard things and their feet is hard with callus and what have you, but they're getting the nutrients from the ground. God says, take your shoe off. When you talk to me right now, you got to come proper. Yes, the earth and minerals. Come on. Yeah. And so I believe that's what's happening here. And so then we see where the lesson goes into chapter 6. It skips and takes us to chapter 6, verse 1. And now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of the Israelites. Your word and went out there, y'all. What God has done for you because of your testimony. The book of Revelation talks about they overcame him. They didn't just overcome, as y'all say in your churches. They literally overcame him by the word of their testimony and by the what? And who is the him that they overcame? That's what's happening here. They built Jericho, put walls up, and hid in there because they heard there was a testimony that happened. All right, they went out all throughout the territory that God's people were coming, and we didn't adhere to the warning shot that we heard, and we didn't repent. Yes, used to go barefoot in the summer when I was a youngin'. Yeah, me too. I'm kind of afraid to do that now. You step on a rusty nail. Ruth Chester, blessings to you. So good to see you. All right. So they were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go out or in, but the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho. This gonna take me too long, y'all. That point right there. Yes. Yep, the blood of the Lamb. Thank you. That's it, Eleanor. And they love not their lives unto death. Yes, Joanne. He says, I already gave you the city. I already gave it to you. Okay? So from that moment on, whatever the commander of the army wanted me to do, I didn't worry. I ain't nervous. If we know in the scriptures that we win, why are y'all worried and nervous and scared? When God in his word says you're going to win. And if by the stripes we are healed, all right, whether you want to fight over it being spiritual healing or natural healing, the healing is there. Why would you worry about any sickness that might come upon you? Why? Well, the word went out, says, oh, you're going to take that city. Now just follow my lead. They overcame him, Satan, thank you, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. So it says here, no one was allowed to go in, but the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king, and all of its strong warriors. You and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 7 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark. Why the ark? Because God was always there. He was represented in the ark, and no one else could carry it but the priest. This is very important here. No one else could carry it but the priest at that time. All right. God's order still is today. Who now are kings and priests? And he has brought you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Who today now are kings and priests, and we don't have to carry an ark now of the covenant. God has rested within us now. He resides in us now. His spirit is in us now. So when we walk, we carry God now because we are qualified now, bona fide. He made us marvelous, wonderful. Ooh, this is too big for me. Too big. Joanne said, yes, come on. Divine strategy. We are the redeemed, and we say so. Ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. But it says you and your fighting men. All right. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times with the priests blowing the horns. And when you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horn, have all of the people shout as loud as they can. That's important, that part. Then the walls of the town will collapse and the people can charge straight into the town. All right, so Joshua called together these men, these people, all right? And then it skips to verse 15. Let's go down there. On the 7th day, the Israelites got up at dawn and marched around the town as they had done before. But this time they went around the town 7 times. And the 7th time around, as the priests sounded the long blast on their horns, Joshua commanded the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the town. Now, Jericho and everything in it must be completely destroyed as an offering to the Lord. Only Rahab, the prostitute, and the others in her house will be spared. That's another story right there that I can preach on. I can preach on that one. That by itself. Thank you, Lawrence Martin. It's us. We are kings and priests. He made us marvelous. But when he gave them the battle, he let, yes. Come on, the victory. Yes. Come on, Karen Bell. All right. So now that's how it ends in the book. So let's see if we could make some commentary here on this lesson, because again, it's a big lesson. Jericho is believed to be one of the oldest cities in the world, actually, in the Bible. And Jericho is best known as the location of the astonishing miracle God performed, as I just read. Jericho was the first city conquered by Israel after crossing the Jordan River and occupying the Promised Land. Jericho's location is key in its significance. Okay, the location. The city was situated in the lower Jordan Valley, just west of the Jordan River, and about 10 miles northwest of the Dead Sea. Now, it sat in the broadest part of the Jordan Plain, more than 800 feet below sea level, and nearly 3,500 feet below Jerusalem, which was only 17 miles away. This is important. This geographical detail explains why Jesus said in his parable that the Good Samaritan went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Do you remember? In Luke chapter 10. In dramatic contrast to its desert surroundings, Jericho thrived as a fertile, spring-fed oasis. Now, in the Old Testament, it was often called the city of palms for its abundance of palm trees. Strategically, though, it was located as a border city. Ancient Jericho controlled important migrant routes between the north and the south, and the east and the west. And eventually the town became part of the allotment of the tribe of Benjamin. Can y'all tell me who was a Benjamite? It was two significant people in the Bible, all right, that came from that tribe of Benjamin. Can y'all tell me, you Sunday school scholars out there? All right. After the death of Moses, God selected Joshua. He was the son of Nun. I don't want to tell a corny joke right now. To lead the people of Israel under the Lord's direction. They entered Canaan and began to take possession of it. Now, the first city standing in Israel's way was Jericho. And everything after that, every city, every people after this story got nervous because they looked at Jericho as the whooping boy. A secure fortress with high, formidable walls, and Joshua sent spies to investigate the city. Now, Rahab the harlot, knowing that Israel's God was going to overthrow Jericho, hid the spies and later helped them escape. How was it possible that a harlot, a prostitute, had more wisdom? The shout was about obedience and power, following God's divine order in his numerical perfectness. I can't see. Time to change my glasses. You're like, you got glasses? Well, the inside spectacles, that's my contact lenses. It's time to go. Before the Battle of Jericho, God gave Joshua specific instructions for the men of war to march in silence around the city once each day for 6 days. Now, I know how God did it. I know how he did it. I know how he did it. It didn't take really much spiritual. God didn't need to do anything spiritual for that wall to fall down. God used science. And I can prove it right here on the So Wealthy Jones Show. He used science to get that wall to fall. Because you have to understand that many enemies of territories that have strong walls try to overtake the wall, and it could take them days, weeks, and months to chip away in a bombardment. They have primitive military, instruments to do this, and weaponry. Unlike what we do today, we can just point a barrel and bam, the wall is gone through nuclear war. back then they had to use patience. And many people lost their lives because of it, and it was difficult to overtake a strong wall because as you chipping away, it's giving the men and women, the people inside that wall, time to retaliate. You understand? But God had a strategy because he is a God of war. Good to see you, Doris James. He's a god of war. A tribe was descendant from Benjamin, the youngest son of the patriarch Jacob and his wife Rachel. Yes, but who was from Benjamin? Paul. Yes, someone else was too. Can y'all tell me? Yes. And before the battle, God gave Joshua specific instructions, and the priests were to walk with them, blowing ram's horns and carrying the ark of the covenant, of a sign of God's presence among them. Now, on the seventh day, they were to march around the city 7 times. At the appropriate signal, the priests were to blow their trumpets, and the people were to give a mighty shout. Notice, it had to be a long blow and a loud shout. Very important. They did exactly as Joshua commanded, and on the seventh day, the wall of Jericho crumbled. Now, the soldiers went in and took the city, destroyed it completely. Only Rahab and her family were spared. All right. Now, this is a very important here. Strategy. Esther, thank you, Joanne. Strategy. Okay. What's going on with that? God is a military strategist. The footnotes here in my Bible, God's unconventional strategy included waiting, walking, and no talking. There is something about why God uses foolish things to confound who? Can y'all tell me? Huh? Can y'all tell me? God uses foolish things to confound who? Why does he do that? Why is God so caught up by people who say that they are wise? Why is that? The preaching of the gospel is foolishness. Jesus came to the disciples and decided to die. That is foolishness. He was supposed to come and overtake set up his kingdom and overtake the Roman Empire. But he was meek and holy and humble, and it was foolishness. And the times when he should have said something, he didn't say anything. He didn't say a mumbling word. Why do God operate that way? Why is it that God decided to reject Gideon's many of the choices of the men? Gideon would have, if he had 1,000,000 men, he would have selected 1,000,000 men. But God said, no, cut that army down. It's too many. Why would God use not just a few men, but he told them to go by the river there and let put a camera, put a Canon camera over there, or use an iPhone, and I want you to sneak up on them and find out how they're gonna drink it. They're gonna lap up like a dog, right? I want to see how they drink. And many of you have told stories about how when you're this popular story that went all around the country about being a person who wanted the job, a specific job for this corporation. They put in the resume and they called them on a second interview, but they called them out to lunch or dinner. Okay, and many of you heard this story before. And as they sat at the table, there's the company's there, and the person who wanted the job is sitting there, and the applicant. And they're sitting at the table, and as the food comes, this guy decides to take the salt and the pepper, and he begins to put salt and pepper on his plate. And the corporation is watching him as he do that, and then he starts eating his food, and then they have their lunch, and then they go home, and then they call him and say he don't have the job. It's a great story. Whether it's true or not, I think it's a great story. because it's kind of like how God did with those Gideon men. And they said, you don't have a job. And he says, why? They said, because you put salt and pepper, you seasoned your food before you tasted it. And he's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It makes a lot of sense to us because you prejudged the food. It's a great story. You prejudged the food. You prejudged it because you didn't taste it first to see if they already had salt and pepper in there. So we can't have you, depending on what the corporation was, we can't have you working for us and you prejudging our clients. You understand? This is why they pick certain jury for, look at this thing, the man who killed, what's his name, who murdered him with the knee on his neck, George Floyd. Okay, it's difficult to pick a jury for this man. Everybody knows the story, and to find anybody African American that has not have meditated notions on who this man is or how they feel about him, it would be difficult to find somebody who's neutral about the situation. Difficult. So God uses strategy on how he accomplishes his work. Now this is a spoiler alert. I was watching Coming to America. Okay, this is the strategy of God. I was watching Coming to America, and at the end, again, spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry, I got to spoil it for you. By now, you should have saw it. It's your fault. Towards the end of the movie, the son was asked to take a test. It was a lion test in order to prove that he can sit on the throne. And it was he was supposed to approach a lion and cut the lion's portion of the mane and bring it back to his father. And they spent a while in the movie. He's sitting there watching the lion. He examined the lion. He's afraid. And then the day come for him to go out there and to chase the lion and try to find a way to cut that mane. He had a strategist. One of the women who were a part of that country told him, you know what? You're being tested. He said, what? How? I'm afraid. He says, it's not about your brute strength, or this is not about your fear, but this is about your strategy. It's about working not harder, but working smarter. You see, you're thinking about approaching a lion, just you out there with your little skinny self. You're going to walk up to a lion and cut his mane. No, there's a way to do this without you having to touch the lion or approach the lion. And he thought about it. Yes. And so they found a way to get close up to the lion without having an issue and cut his mane. And how did they do it? Okay, I'm gonna let y'all watch the movie. It was a great strategy. I'm gonna let y'all watch the movie. I felt sorry for you. I felt sorry for you. Yeah, cut the whiskers off the lion. It was a great part. It probably was my favorite part of the movie. All right, it was an okay movie. All right, I don't like messing with legacies like Coming to America, so they mess with it. So I'm glad they put that in there as a twist. All right, so let me prove to you. And Amber, you pretty much own it. All right. The plagues of Egypt. God used plagues to teach the Egyptians a lesson, and he also used the plagues to teach the Israelites a lesson too. He showed himself strong through the plagues, but he did not have to use miracles to do it. I myself personally don't believe that God needed to use a miracle to issue the plagues of Israel. Didn't need to. He just used science. He is science. He created it. He's omniscience, and he didn't have to do anything but let science do its work. Because after the first plague hit, the rest of them systematically could have followed on their own once the first one hit. Y'all think I'm crazy, don't you? All right. So how did the walls come tumbling down? They walked around that piece of land. How many times? Once. Every day they kept walking around that same area. Guess what they were doing as they were walking around that wall area? Why? You see, God knew how they built that wall. Before the Israelites came about, God saw the people of Jericho building the wall. Number two, he knew what material they used to build that wall. Number three, he knew what foundation the wall was standing on. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he used a strategy. Come on, Michelle Carter. Come on, Michelle Carter. They loosened that ground. They didn't know what they was doing. It was something foolish, wasn't it? God didn't have to lift a finger, an arm, a shoulder, or nothing. They was weighing down that foundation. Understand? Now y'all saying, okay, then what happened next? Well, he told them to scream or shout and then play the trumpet and make it a long sound. Y'all want to know how the walls of Jericho came tumbling down? I'm about to show you.
Ella Fitzgerald. She's attempting to shatter a glass with her amplified voice. She did it. You are now hearing the Memorex cassette tape recording we just made of Ella. Now you'll see a glass shatter again. But is it Ella or is it Memorex?
I'll never tell.
Why two?
Come on. Sonics. There it is, girl. Come on, Lisa. Come on, a sound. Yes, they were creating infractions and instability in the land. Come on, y'all kind of smart. Vibrations. Waves. Did not God make the waves? Huh? I'm a studio man. I'm a recording engineer, and I'm a recording producer. I live, breathe in the recording studios. I've built my own studios, several of them. I know how sound work. I know how to encapsulate it, to capture it. I know how to let it go, all right? And sometimes when y'all are in your homes and you'll hear a truck, a car going down your street, you know, people put big speakers in their cars in the trunk, and you hear poof, 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 going by your house. Poof, poof. Your whole house shake, don't it? Your chest. Poof, poof, poof. The further it go down, and that thing could be several blocks down, and you can still hear poof, 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 poof. You can't hear the high frequency sounds, but you can feel the subwoofer, the bass sounds. Poof, 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 poof. But you can't hear this high frequency. Only certain animals can hear the high frequency sound. And if you were in a marching band like I was, all right, in the marching band, those little piccolos about that big, they play high sounds. There could be 100 musicians behind that one piccolo player, and you can hear the piccolo over all of those instruments. Why? I'm trying to tell y'all, this is too good for me. It's too good for me. So the the bass woofer sound, or them walking around, loosening up that foundation. The long playing horn sound and the shout, what it did, it was loosening up the mortar and the mud between those bricks. And everything has what's called a resonating point. I'm trying to tell you, Amber, I saw your comment before I mentioned Ella Fitzgerald. I saw your comment over there in the corner, and I didn't want to say nothing. I had Ella already. 5 minutes before I was to go live, I heard God says, find Ella. I heard the Spirit say, find Ella. Ella, why Ella? Memorex. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. So Amber, I'm telling you, you got my spirit. Yep, piccolo, high sounding. Also, avalanches can be a result of the same stimulus. Trying to tell you. So they said, if you're ever at church, Shannon's probably not watching, but sometimes when the musicians are, and when I'm playing, when I used to fill in for Pastor Carlos in his morning manner, I would play my piano and the drum is making noise. Every time I hit a certain note, the snare drum will go. Can y'all tell me what's happening there? Can y'all tell me what's happening? And I would say, Shan, will you go over there and turn the snare off? And she's trying to find out how to turn it off. You could turn the snare off. where there's some brass that sits up under the snare, which makes the snare sound. All right? Psh, psh, psh. But when you remove the brass from the snare, it goes poop, 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 hollow. Poop, psh, 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 poop, poop. That brass right there. All right? That brass has a resonating point that I hit when I hit a certain note or chord on that keyboard. And as long as I'm up in the high register, that snare went. That's what Ella did. She was able to break that glass because she reached a resonating point. And she ain't the only one that could do it. Anybody who can get to that point of the glass shatters it. Why? Because of the frequency level. Come on. Your notes were resonating. Y'all got it, man. Y'all got it. Come on, y'all got it. Symbols. Yes, the brick and mortar went out. Out of order. After those shofar. Come on. I'm trying to tell y'all, God didn't need no kind of miracle for him to accomplish this. Reverberation. Yes. Now the reverberation is what bounces, it's something that is hit. Reverberation is the effect. All right, we call it sonics. Reverberation is the effect of something attacked. Do you understand? It's the effect of it. That's why you could hear they call these echo chambers. Why does an echo chamber, why is it so significant? Why is it so effective? Because a vibration hit it and it's calling back. For every action, there was an opposite yet equal reaction. And that reaction was a reverberation. That's what that means. But everything has a resonating point, though, which causes it to resonate. All right. So sometimes resignation and resonation. Okay, resignation. I'm not resigning. And reverberation. Sometimes they're used synonymous, but they not completely the same. You understand? Because something can resonate but not reverberate. If that makes sense. All right. Minnie Riperton could sing in the key of dog whistle. Yep. Y'all, this is a science class. This is too much for me. All right. So you got to go. I think a great reference is Psalms 37 and 34. I'm not teaching tomorrow, so I figure I'd take my time. The young folk teach tomorrow. That's why I'm taking my time. I'm still in time. Y'all heard of fret not thyself of evildoers? Remember that? Psalm 37, chapter 37. Neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. It goes on and on. This is a great psalm of David. He gets into a familiar place where y'all know and you quote quite often. It says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. And he delighteth in his way. You remember that? Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I'm old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He understands this because he saw the Benjamites, he saw the children of Israel overtake Jericho. How do we know? Because when we get down to verse 34, guess what he says? He says, wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I've seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. But God's going to overtake the wall. Why? Because the steps of a good man are ordered. Joshua was a good man, and the commander of God's army saw him and said, all right, here's God's strategy. He sent me here as an ambassador of heaven to tell you how you're going to win this war. Jericho is yours, but you got to convince the people. They've got to follow instructions. And how are they going to do it? By waiting, by walking, and by not talking. You're going to win. God uses some of the silliest things to get you to win. Be quiet. You don't got to say nothing. You don't got to fight in the battle. I thought you said vengeance is God's. All right, let him do it. Be quiet. He's working his strategy. It may seem silly to you to not use your fist or your brute or your mouth or what have you, try to get revenge. No, just go home. Go home. Be quiet. Go home, because your name will be great throughout that territory because you were quiet and you didn't have to defend nothing. You didn't do that thing. You know it. God know it. The people don't know it yet, but God's getting ready to show the people that you didn't do that. So you be quiet. Be still and know that I'm God. Shh. Quiet. God's getting ready to do some silly, foolish things in your life, and it's going to confound the wise. Come on, y'all. The young folks about to tell me about tomorrow.
Hello. Today we're going to be talking about Joshua, the prophet of Conquest.
Prophet of Conquest. I mean, let's see our Bible truth. The Lord tells Joshua how to lead Israel to defeat Jericho. We'll be studying Joshua 5, verse 13 through chapter 6, verse 5, 15 through 16, and 20. Our lesson aim, by the end of this lesson, we will examine how Joshua acted obediently to the vision from God, reflect on our inefficiencies when challenges overwhelm us, and commit to obeying God, especially in challenging times.
Challenging times. Joshua definitely had some challenging times.
And
he couldn't just walk in and defeat Jericho. There were some things he had to do before he got there.
Right, and the thing about Joshua is he already saw Moses and Aaron go through so many things.
He had been in the wilderness for 40 years with the children of Israel. Right. He had already been through some things.
And now it's his time to decide, is he going to obey God, be prepared to overcome this, or is he going to be disobedient?
What is it going to take? He saw how the children of Israel reacted to Moses. Now it's his turn.
Yes, Joshua, the young man, prophet of Conquest.
Join us tomorrow. Back to you, Sir Walter.
Bye, Sir Walter.
Thank you, El Jarrell. Thank you, Tiff. I want to kind of show y'all off our church. We have a big gymnasium back there. All right, it's regulated and ready for y'all to come. We just got to put some wood on the floor. Amen. That's a great lesson tomorrow. The young folks gonna go forth. I just thought I'd do a little teaser here, and more than a teaser, I went almost an hour, and in a teaser, that's a whole meal. Amen. We're saying here, I receive and accept what you just said. Amen. Michelle Carter, blessings to you. I gotta remember what I said, but I pray that it work in your favor. For me and my house, we shall. It says here, the 21st verse, which is not part of the lesson, but I like what the footnote says. the Canaanite civilization was so totally corrupt that coexisting with them would have been a serious threat to the survival and spiritual welfare of the Hebrew nation. Israel here is God's instrument of judgment against those who refuse to honor him. Commingling with someone would be to your detriment, they're saying. These people who don't know God don't want to know God. Evil communication corrupts good manners. So cut yourself off from many people. There are many people in your life that you may have to cut off, even if those people are family. Sometimes some family folks, you got to cut yourself. Jesus said, that's why he said you have to forsake family members to follow God. Cut them off. Because if you don't, and then he says, because God used Israel. Notice what he said. An instrument. He said, I like what he said here, would have been a serious threat. Israel here is God's instrument of judgment. Let God use you as an instrument of judgment. Go to faithtempleevanston.org if you want to give to the Sunday school lesson, to Sunday school period. Go to the top, there's a donate button, and it says Sunday school. Give to Sunday school. We need your support so we can continue to do what we do in this magnificent house right here. Amen. All right. Hope you enjoy the lesson and study it so that you'll be ready for 9:30 tomorrow with the young folks. All right. Hit the share button if you're on YouTube. Go ahead. Smash the thumb button, like button, blah blah blah, and we'll talk soon. Okay. Got a brand new show starting tomorrow. The Pandemic Report. I was going to do a special Sir Bob Jones show tonight, but I'm not ready. So we'll start tomorrow, and then Monday you'll start seeing a whole new show starting Monday. All right. Okay, we'll still do our lives, but we doing some whole new stuff. Tomorrow we're gonna keep praying for the church, y'all, because this week has been one crazy week. Tomorrow we'll be talking about Kirk Franklin. And Juanita Bynum and what's her name? I need a white sheet. Hold on. And yeah, and this Andrea. Yeah, we're gonna talk about them by not talking about them. Okay, love y'all. Hey, guess what? Sunday school. March it on. When the storm clouds form, hear the cries of doom and gloom. Sunday school still marches on. Then when the grass turns green and the flowers start to bloom, Sunday school still marches on. Marches on. Marches on. Sunday school still marches on. Marches on. Marches on. Sunday school still marches. Sunday school still marches. Sunday school still marches on.